Hey, I'm Samantha Scaffidi, and you're tuning into the Baron Hideout podcast.
Join us today is Samantha Scaffidi of Terrifier fame as Victoria Hayes. Let's get ripped apart together as we talk her career and everything artsy. Samantha, how have you been?
Hello. I'm great. I'm super excited to be here, and yeah, I mean, how could I not be after all the success of Terrifier? It's been kind of shocking to say the least, but how are you guys doing?
Oh, we're doing great. Dean, he's the one that really, spearheaded, I guess, this interview of, meeting you at For the Love of Horror. And he was like, yo, Dustin, I can get Samantha on the show. She just said, just email her, do it right now. I'm like, okay, okay, okay.
Well, I
So,
knew we'd already had David on and Damien on as well, and I was
yeah.
like, oh, I'll ask Samantha and see if she'll come on as well. And you were so cool about it. You were like, yeah, just do it. So yeah, no, thank you very much for coming on.
No, like I said to you guys, it's an honor. I always feel privileged to be able to talk to anyone, but especially about Terrifier. So I'm glad you approached me, and I'm glad we're doing this. So.
Amazing. Was you surprised when over in England? Was you surprised, like, just how? Because you must have seen like how the English fans just absolutely adore that movie. Like, we're crazy about it over there. And Terrifier 2 hadn't even come out at that point in
Yeah.
the UK. A lot of people hadn't even seen it.
Yeah, I was massively shocked, but in the best way, because I mean there are fans here, but for some reason in the UK it just felt like there was a real fan base of like
Yeah.
a large fan base. And then I we had our first moment, I think, when we were coming down. I was coming down and meeting Damien and David in the hotel lobby, and it was like the first time that people like recognized kind of me in that way almost
Yeah.
immediately, which is a bit of a shock.
Yeah, you're not
And then
all
when I went.
disfigured.
Yeah, exactly. Literally. I was like, how do you even know? Because,
Yeah.
but Damien was there, and all of a sudden, this woman who was really sweet, we ended up talking to for a moment. She like looked at him and looked at me and then looked at David, and she started getting really emotional.
Oh
And I
wow.
was
Oh,
like, and I was like, oh wow, there's like moments like that where you're like, it kind of hits you, and it's actually really
Yeah.
touch. It's like really touching. So yeah, it was being in Manchester. It was kind of surreal
Yeah.
in so many ways.
Because it's gone through the roof, Terrified. Like,
yeah.
they had like live tattoo artists on site tattooing people like art onto people, and it's just people are crazy for that movie over
Yeah,
here.
I mean, it wasn't the first mural in Manchester. Like about couple years ago, there was like some mural that was pretty. It was pretty large. It was like one of the first that had popped up, and this was only after Terrifier. It wasn't even
I think so.
Terrifier
Yeah.
2 hadn't come out, but there was somewhere in the UK there was a really big Art the Clown mural,
I
which is
think I know
kind
what you're
of
talking about.
It
yeah.
rings a bell. I don't know exactly where it is, but that definitely
There's
rings a bell.
somewhere.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's actually on
Yeah,
Dean's
we love it.
house.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
right.
It's right behind me. It's on the wall
Exactly.
over
Yeah, you're like it's still there.
there.
Oh man. But yeah, this is awesome, and being able to talk to so many people from Terrifier and Terrifier 2. We had Lauren on as well, and she was
Mm.
amazing to talk to.
She's
Almost
amazing,
almost
Lauren.
yeah, she was
Yeah,
great. Almost got Elliot, but then he had the whole like music thing blow up, so he's been very preoccupied with that. I mean,
yeah.
he is just accomplishing so much at his age. It's ridiculous.
He's like a jack of all trades. I like keep getting shocked by how many things he's like so talented at so many different things. And like you said, he's super young and super motivated. I'm like inspired by him, and he's
Yeah.
like so much younger than me.
Yeah,
I
it's
was like, I wasn't
awesome.
even doing half the things he was doing at that age, but yeah.
Yeah, and this seeing everybody else do a bunch of other stuff outside of Terrifier, like when we were talking to Leah, she's doing streaming. She's also has her own production company that she's doing stuff with, and she also has her own
Yeah.
podcast. And there's so many creative things happening all around the board, not even just in the Terrifier family, but everywhere now.
Yeah.
Um, and I kind of want to, take it back as we usually do with all of our guests, is to talk to you about where it all started with you. Um,
Mm.
so was acting something that you wanted to do at a younger age? Was it something that just kind of happened, or like where did the love of all this kind of begin?
It's weird because I like try to trace it back, 'cause sometimes I hear people discuss when they like knew whether they were actor or director, they knew that one moment. I just always felt like there wasn't a moment, but I was always drawn to
Mm-hmm.
acting. I always was like drawn. I loved film growing up, watching it with my family. But I remember there were just opportunities in which, I went to this theater camp in middle school because a teacher had recommended it and said, "Oh, you might really enjoy it." And so it was called Stage Door Manor in the Catskills, and I went and did that, and that was like kind of my first experience where it kind of like lit me up. And then, but I don't have family in film, and I don't have family in acting or even in filmmaking or any of that process. They're all literally lawyers, so I have this like literally a family full of lawyers. So when I went to college, I just assumed I had to get a business degree. That my dad was like, "You're going to university, you need a degree," so I just assumed it was business. But when I was there was an opportunity to take an acting class, and so I did. And then when I went to New York City, I ended up saying to my dad, like, "You know what? If I don't get a job in the summer in this program, like the summer intensive, I'll quit acting. I'll go straight into business," which was like the most unrealistic idea that I could have ever had, that I was going to all of a sudden get a job over the summer. Because as we all know,
Yeah.
acting is a brutal, brutal industry. It could take years and years to get a job. But after that intensive, my father saw how it lit me up, like I had mentioned earlier, and was like, "Look, if you're gonna be an actor, you've got to really go and get a foundation." So he kind of supported me in putting me into conservatory for 2 years, and that's kind of
That's
when I
awesome.
Oh wow.
yeah. So I'm very lucky and privileged to have a family who's maybe not necessarily in the industry, but has always supported kind of me in
Definitely
that
broke the
endeavor.
mold.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They're pretty happy now. I think they're like they're feeling relief after all these years because it's been about a decade, but yeah, that I've been
Yeah.
kind of pursuing acting and filmmaking. But
Terrifier has definitely been a big part of that, which is awesome. And
yeah,
seeing the first one and now seeing you in the second one as well, and most definitely in the third one. Very, very excited to everybody's careers, kind of go off, whether it's in, still the Terrifier family or not.
yeah,
So I'm excited for everybody over there.
yeah.
Man, it's just
Yeah.
crazy. It's been
It's some of the
crazy.
honestly, it's some of the most. I mean, I've been in the industry for a minute, and it's some of the most hardworking and passionate people that were on that film, and especially like Damien. I
Oh
mean,
man.
like no one deserves it more than he does. I mean, literally killing himself making these films, and
Yeah.
turning down so many opportunities that weren't right for the project. So I mean, it's
Really
it's
paying off for
really
him.
it. Sorry.
I'd say it's really paying off for him now, isn't it? It's really
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, he's fine. He's set. But I'll tell you,
yeah.
20 years or so that idea has lived with him, and he's just been kind of grinding away at it and believing in himself and pushing through. So he's one of my biggest inspirations. But going back to its success, I mean, even Lauren, like I remember I did the second film and I was only on 2 days. And I knew they had a kind of grueling shooting experience because it's just, pandemic. They had to take breaks. What should have been like a couple months ended up being 3 years of filmmaking. But I remember Lauren didn't have to shoot that day, but she came to set anyway and was helping out.
Yeah,
And
that's
it
what she
was
was
just
saying when I was talking to her. Yeah. Very
oh my God.
dedicated.
I honestly, I was like, that, that girl, she's going to be a massive success, but also that woman that is going to be a massive success, but also she deserves it. Cause like, you barely have any days off yourself and you're still on there and you're there and you're helping out and that really made an impression on me.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
So
one gigantic family, literally, you know.
yeah, literally. Yeah.
You also produce and direct yourself, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Tell us a bit about that and how you kind of got into that side of things.
Well, funny enough, I actually made 3 or 4 years ago a transition fully into directing because when I was first acting, I had gone to school and we didn't have a showcase, so I didn't get an agent right away. So you kind of had to learn how to produce in order to act because a lot of your opportunities were created by yourself
Yeah.
at that time. So I was like producing to act, and then I realized doing both of those things didn't really help each other out. Like something always suffered, but I enjoyed both in their own right.
Yeah.
And then as I was producing and working with directors, I started to, I think, start to see things differently in story, and I got excited by some of my own ideas. And I did a little short documentary on the Women's March on Washington, and then I did like a PSA on domestic violence, and finally I did this music video for this band that I was obsessed with, and it got in the hands of one of like the biggest commercial production companies kind of in the world.
Hmm.
They have offices in in the United States, but also in London and worldwide. So they had kind of called me in and said, we saw this music video, we're interested. And I guess the interview went really well, and they ended up starting to develop me. And so I've been with them ever since. But
That's awesome.
that's kind of the moment I was like, okay, I'm gonna pursue directing, because it's kind of a really magical opportunity to be able to kind of write and direct and dictate the stories being told. So I've been kind of on that.
Super creative. It gives you that chance to be super creative, doesn't it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
my God, yeah.
Do you prefer kind of being behind the camera or in front of the camera, or do you enjoy both as much as the other? Or
it's weird. It's like acting, it feels like my soul is alive when I'm getting to act, because there's a weird, when you can like, and it's just sometimes it's just moments, but when you tap into that presence and you're in that space, there's nothing like it. It's like a high that I never felt before. So there is something really beautiful about acting that I still want to pursue it, and still would love to do, to act in a certain capacity. But there is something that I think with directing, especially because I write, that to like, there's a process of, self-discovery, but also, writing and then seeing it actualize, and that whole process is really a gift. So I love them for different reasons, but I definitely I'm like, if acting comes in time and, people come to me and say, hey, we see this role for you, would you want to be on board? Then sure. But directing has definitely been the thing that I've been laser focused on, trying to learn and grow. And
I can't wait to see what you produce. Like, this is going to be awesome. Seeing all these things that I'm sure you have a bunch of ideas of that you want to do, and can't wait to see them come to the light.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to share them. I literally was in London shooting a psychological horror, which I thought.
Oh yes.
Wow. So it's a little in the horror genre, but
oh yeah.
So we'll see. Hopefully that will be out next year. But
are you a big horror fan? Have you kind of grown up watching horror, or?
No, ironically, my family wasn't really horror buffs. We grew up with I grew up on like Godfather and Goodfellas, super Italian American family. But but my cousin Vinny, even that. But I have really now I weirdly love horror. I think it's just because I wasn't exposed, so I didn't really understand it.
Now.
Yeah.
Well, especially because of Terrifier and being at the horror cons and meeting people and hearing their perspectives. But then even shooting this film recently, I was watching Rosemary's Baby and all these, which is just phenomenal. It's some of the best filmmaking I've ever seen. So I'm how did I not know about this? But I also just wasn't really exposed to it. So now I'm starting to really love it and see what's possible in this one genre.
That's great though. I'd love to discover some of those films for the first time now, as
my God,
brain gun, even though they're quite dated when you watch them, but you can still really appreciate just how great they are. Films like The Shining and
oh my God,
Rosemary's Baby, they are real classics, aren't they? Really great movies.
They are, and just there's a list. I have a massive list of horror films that I have to tackle.
Yeah. There's so much, and that's another thing that's so beautiful about the horror genre. Everybody thinks it's one thing, but it's really not. There's so many different aspects of filming and other genres that go into making a horror movie. It's a drama, it's a comedy, it's action. It's so many things, and it can be morphed into so many things, and you see that through the Terrifier franchise, really. That I guess you can really call it a franchise now, since there's going to be a third one that Damien has already been teasing about, and it's crazy of how much you can do in horror, and how engaging the community is, and how friendly they are, and loving and supporting of everything you do, whether it's a piece of shit or not.
Some of the nicest fans, I swear to God, which is the crazy thing. I mean, people are pretty brutal. I feel especially with the internet days, it's But I mean, even Terrifier, it's blending comedic moments with horrifying moments. I mean, even like I said, when I was trying to gear up for this film, I had this real appreciation for horror, because I'm it is one of the most, to me, it's one of the most difficult things I think to direct. Just to go on that journey and really set up to build that tension,
that mindset and whatnot. Especially Victoria Hayes, what she went through. Oh
my God, I think I'm starting to realize that through the reactions of the fans, because I just am for some reason, when you're in it, especially the first film was hard. Someone was asking me that the other day, and I was like, the first film was, I think, hard because you're trying to like make real. You still feel human, so you're making real like these,
Yeah.
these situations like the loss of a sister, and that's really difficult. But I think now that I have the mask on, like the prosthetic,
Yeah, you can kind of just
it
hide your
just really
emotions.
helps. Well, well, exactly. I don't have to really go there. No, but I think it also just like I think, and Damien had mentioned it once. It's like something like takes over me when he puts the prosthetic on, and it does feel accurate because it feels like somehow for one moment I'm possessed by something, and maybe it is the spirit of Vicky.
Yeah. How long does it take to put all that on? I've got to say that is one of the most terrifying looks ever.
Yeah.
When it got to the end of the movie,
So bad.
I stood
He
up
just
and
loves
applauded.
making me look like shit. I'm like, can you please just like give me? I don't know why. I'm like, but
Oh man.
no, I thought Dave. I said this to you the other day, and maybe I'm saying it wrong, but if I remember right, I think my makeup takes just as long as David's, if not longer, because I think it's like an hour and a half, 2 hours. Because
Okay.
it's not only just getting the prosthetic on, but I mean, Damien's like an artist, so he's really in there and he's
Mm.
taking his time and just perfecting it, while he also has a million other things going on that day
Yeah.
in directing.
Mm-hmm.
But it takes, I mean, I want to say an hour and a half, the minimum. And then just to take it off, it takes a amount of time.
Well, that's not too
But yeah.
bad. A
Yeah,
lot
well,
longer.
It wasn't bad when you had 2 hour days. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like or 2 hour days when you had 2 days on a shoot. But I'm like, there was, if I have to wear that more than like
Yeah.
David, who has to wear it like 30 something plus days, I'm gonna probably want to kill myself. But no, it's not bad compared to like stories you hear where people are in that makeup chair for like 6 to 8 hours.
Yeah,
It's like,
that's
oh
nuts.
God, no,
Yeah,
no.
you do better than me. I can't sit still for 5 minutes. I'm like the tattooist's worst nightmare. I'm constantly
Oh
twitching and
man.
pinching and
Yeah.
like a makeup artist's worst nightmare. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, I definitely I get anxious definitely, and this, you're just like, okay, is it done? Is it done? Because you just time. I feel like all of our attention spans are just like diminishing
Yeah.
anyway. So like, I'm like, oh, is it done? And we're only like 10 minutes in. So,
No, I'm
Yeah.
curious.
but
Do
yeah.
you have any of the prosthetic pieces, or does Damien have it all? He probably has
Oh
it,
no,
right?
they kept all that. I remember I wanted to rip it off at one point, and they're like, you cannot rip it off. We need to save this.
I'm gonna
So
sell
they
it for
have.
millions of dollars.
Literally, I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to sit through like an hour of taking this off just to keep it intact. But yeah, they we, like I said, on the second one, that prosthetic, that I think there was only 2 times I had to go in and out, so they may only have like two prosthetics of that.
That's not too bad.
But yeah.
So I want to bring you back to the first film and how you kind of got on board for that. So, how did you find out about this little horror film?
Well, it's funny because I straight out of acting school, I had done this like kind of proof of concept for this, ended up becoming a feature film, and it was with one of the actors from the first films, Gino, who was in the pizza scene.
Okay, yeah.
Gino Caffarelli. So I had done like a small little like Italian American gig, and I guess Gino was in the first film, and he knew Damien, and Damien's like, "Do you know any actors?" And Gino had put my name forth. So I think I got an email from Damien that was like, "Hey, we have I have this film coming up. Can you read the script? Let me know what you think." And I think at that time he hadn't yet cast Catherine, and it was kind of like up between those two roles. And I remember reading it and being like, I feel like I identify a lot more with Vicky for some
Oh
reason. Also, because
no.
I was, well, I did also feel that way too, because I felt like that's Catherine's role is massively difficult to do. I just comedically, and I was very much more of like a identified as a dramatic actress at that time. But so I had read it, and I remember, and I had said this, and then people took this the wrong way. But I remember being like, "Oh my God, this is like the most graphic and violent film I have ever read." And I remember like reading it and feeling like really disgusted.
Oh, hey,
and
that's not a bad
and
thing.
I no, I mean, but now I get it, and I get it was a genre piece, and I get like, and I met Damien, and that like kind of threw that thought out the window because I mean, I love Damien to death, but I remember being like, I don't know if I could do this. Like, how do what's the justification? And like I said, now how many years later, I totally understand how it all works and genre and appreciate that massively. But so that's how it came to me in an audition, and Damien ended up offering me the part, and so that's how I ended up becoming Vicky.
Now, did you know that you were going to be in the second one? Like, did he even tell anybody that he's doing a Terrifier 2? And like, hey, most of the cast or some of it is going to be carried over, or did you find out about this like way later on?
I feel like Damien probably had mentioned early on that there was always like a life of Art the Clown, because I think it was always that epic and that kind of large scale, that character. Like I mean Damien, I know always saw it. I don't really think Damien's shot, because I think in him there was so much belief in this character and
Yeah.
in himself, which is obviously how he was. I really believe how he was able to get as far as he did. But I think he always knew. And for us, um, you just don't know if these things are going to catch or not. But I didn't know if, because even in the first one, the original script had shifted and Vicky ended up staying alive. I think in the first original script, Vicky had
Oh,
died, and he
okay.
had
Okay.
shifted the ending, and then it kind of shifted things. Um, and I don't remember exactly when I think I always kind of knew that Vicky would have an appearance. We just didn't know when, if she would just come in terms of old footage, or how big her role would be.
Yeah.
But and I think Damien had kind of kept that close to the vest, just like even now he keeps things close to the vest about what her exact trajectory is. But yeah, I did know that at some point she'd make an appearance. I just didn't know yet in like what capacity.
Man, the ending of Terrifier 2 is so fucked up.
Oh,
It's so
God.
fucked up.
I
Which
wasn't ready
is
for that. I wasn't
which
expecting that at
everyone
all.
keeps saying that, and I'm like, I don't know, I don't get it. Like, what's so bad
It's
about it? And
it's cool, but it's just like the imagery and just like where you are and what you're doing and the
yeah,
screams. It mixes all so well, and then it just ends, and you're like,
I stood up and
the
applauded at
hell?
the end of that. I was just like, what a fucking ending to the movie. That was fantastic.
it's funny because Howard Stern was talking about that scene
Yeah, I was
specifically on,
listening to that.
yeah. But I like sent, because my family knows who Howard Stern is, so of course I send it to like my family group chat where my father and my brothers are in it, and I'm like, and then I listened to it and I was like, actually, maybe I don't want them hearing about my vagina, and like, because in my mind I'm like, it's such an innocent scene, like there's just blood coming out, just putting it on
Yeah,
the walls, like I wasn't
with
really.
a head.
I was like, it's like what? And then all of a sudden, as I heard him describe it, I remember texting my family really quickly and being like, you know what? Just don't listen to it.
Yeah,
It's
never
fine.
mind.
Yeah. But I like, so like I said, I'm slowly, like, I think, becoming aware of things through other people's experience of them as opposed to like my own. Because I clearly was like, oh, it's not so bad. And then like she literally births the head and is
Yeah, I
pulling
mean,
it
like
out of, yeah.
as a horror fan, I love it. I love everything about this. Even the bedroom scene, like it's just,
Hmm.
oh, it's so crazy, and all the really boundary pushing aspects of Terrifier and Terrifier 2. Also, with how much it grossed in the box office for how long it was in theaters when it was only supposed to be a weekend, and it's
Yeah.
still in theaters, and now people are renting it, buying it, Screambox. Like the love and
It was
support
in
for this is great.
It was in theaters, but like for the weekend. But remember, it was only like two showings. So the
Yeah,
fact that like that was
I
also
went.
something that was mind-boggling to me. I was like, there's only two showings in most theaters like per day, and it's still,
Yeah,
getting
I went
making as
and
much
saw
money.
it. I think it was for both days. I think I went to go see it at two different theaters near me, and then the next weekend, I went to go see it again because I just wanted to support it, and just seeing the
Yeah,
reactions in the crowd. Like, yeah, I saw a couple walkouts. I definitely did. One
definitely.
guy did pass out next to me. He was a couple seats
Oh
next
Jesus.
to me, but he woke up like 5 minutes after. So I was like, oh, okay, he's all right. Um, But yeah, it was definitely an experience, and like you hear about, like The Exorcist, and people are fainting and running out. This was
Mhm.
like a modern day Exorcist event, and to be here and
Yeah.
experience it, for you to be in a film that caused that, I'm sure that must feel probably really weird, but also amazing. Like have all this like publicity and stuff on a film that you were a part of.
I mean, it's surreal, and I'm extremely grateful, and especially I'm really grateful for the opportunities it's bringing. But I mean, I really am really happy for like Damien and Phil and all those people who like, just, I mean, early on were, because like I think in the first you see all the success, but you very rarely know and hear about all the stuff that like it took to get this far. And I mean, we were filming this in like 2015, and I remember we had like five people in the crew, like doing overnights in Jersey, and like in like the dead of winter at some of those nights. And but even what they did this past, just to make two, like you had a lot of people who weren't making a lot of money and giving a lot of their time and their passion and their creativity. So like I think to see it, especially like I said, for Damien, who like is a really good friend of mine and who I absolutely love to death, like just it's so deserving. I think so for that. And then for the fans who have been in from day one to like come out and support in that way and then be satisfied with the
Yeah.
second is also really beautiful, because it's
Yeah.
like nothing's more terrifying than I think like not being able to do it justice, especially as a sequel. But then for Damien to like and for Lauren and all them to hit it out of the park,
Oh
They
and
yeah.
to have this success is like kind of it's just all magical.
definitely went way above and beyond. I think even
Mhm.
myself, I was really blown away, and Dean, you are too when we got the screener, because we thank
Oh man, yeah.
Screenbox so much for helping us in there. They're really close to our show, and they help us get screeners and stuff, and they got us a screener for this, and then hooked up
Oh,
interviews,
amazing.
and
Yeah.
I'm really close with some of the people over there, and actually Alex, who runs all the socials, actually lives actually somewhat close to me, so we have a relationship that way as well. And to see all the success that it's getting, and also being blown away by how far Damien wanted to take this and did take it, and
Yeah.
for talking to him and him being like, yeah, I was like pulling all nighters, and even David's like, yeah, like I would go to bed, come back, and he's still freaking working on a set. Like what?
Damien did like 26-hour days. I mean, there were days in
Wow.
which I think his body was physically like shutting down and he still was like just pushing through. I mean, like I said, I've never met anyone who works as hard as that man.
Yeah.
And I mean, and but also like one thing I really love and respect about Damien is he's obviously a horror fan and he obviously
Yeah,
really
exactly.
gives a shit about his fans. But he's also a boundary pusher. Like he's just like, oh, there's a line. Let's see how far I can go past
Yeah,
that line, which is just like kind of, especially in this time, that's really extremely terrifying to do. And he's just like, fuck it. This is what I want to do. This is what I want to make. And, and we'll see what happens. So
and I want it done right. I'm
kudos
gonna
to
do it
him.
myself.
Literally everything himself.
Yeah,
With literally everything.
I noticed in the when they were doing the photo ops at the Comic Con, and they did the some of the shots with David dressed up as Art, and Damien was there with him as well, and he was there touching him up. It was like Damien was there touching up David's makeup
Yep.
as Art before it, like he wouldn't let him get into the shot unless he was like, wait, stay
This
still,
is
and he was like
perfect. Yeah.
tweaking, bits. I thought that was great, man. You could really see
No,
the artist in him.
he's an artist, and he loves the work. Like he's such a fan of that type of, and of the special effects makeup and all that stuff.
yeah,
It's just, and you
Yeah,
see it, and I think that's the thing that we're not conscious of, but when we see Terrifier, like, it's there's so much love that gets put into his creations. Like,
yeah.
and it allows us to also in some sadistic way love it too.
yeah. He just
So
has
Yeah.
a great imagination, and being able to
Oh,
put
yeah.
what he's thinking, in the real world, and really cement
He
it, and make it as perfect as he can. And you see
he
all that love in these films, especially in Terrifier 2, with the scenery, with the bright colors, the music, and just how everything is
mm,
so well placed, and even like the dark, gritty aspects of it, like the bedroom scene you at the very end. You got the
yeah.
clown cafe, which is like complete polar opposite of everything else in the film. It's so bright, but it's also very terrifying
trippy.
and gory, and it's a
Hmm.
nightmare. But the whole film is a nightmare,
Oh yeah.
but it's a good nightmare, if that makes sense. you
It's a
know?
fucking ride. I will tell you, like, I am a little pussy when it comes to watching these things. I'm like still like this, even though I know it happens. But
Yeah,
there was nothing more enjoyable than going with my friends to the premiere and like not being able to watch it, sort of watching it, even knowing what's happening, and then looking at them and seeing them having an experience. Because I
yeah,
feel like I mean, that's one reason why we go to movies, to have like an experience and to feel alive. I feel like sometimes, and it is a visceral fucking ride that, and just that, like thinking back, like I remember exactly that moment in which I was looking in the expressions of my friends. It's like, you can't, like, that's like such a gift to give people, I feel like. And
Yeah.
that's what it does. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could tell, even going back to, I was watching All Hallows Eve the other day as well, and like a lot of the demonic creatures in that, like the monsters in that, you could tell that Damien was going to become, the further in his career, he was just I think art's only in that for like a small segment as well.
Mm.
You've seen that,
Yeah.
Dustin, right?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Like, do like all the monsters and like the demons that
Yeah.
kind of? I
I
think it's
think
like
I
it's
saw
like
All Hallows Eve after I watched the first Terrifier because that's what like sparked
yeah.
it, and then I realized that it was connected loosely. It was connected. It was just kind of the birth of art. I think it was
I,
Damien's way of seeing, are people going to like this character? That's how
I
I
just
kind of
remember
think of
I
All
remember
Hallows Eve.
watching that and thinking like, oh man, imagine what this guy could do if he had a serious budget.
Oh my God. And look, he doesn't even have a serious budget. Look what he
Yeah,
can
he
do.
had a small
Yeah,
budget still.
exactly. Yeah,
Exactly. I know. I mean, I mean, like I said, testament to him doing a million fucking things,
yeah,
but he's also smart because I mean, Damien's not just like limited to art. He has so many great ideas and so many, avenues in which he wants to go down, which he's spoken openly about. But he
Yeah.
listens too. Like he listens to what's working, and then he kind of follows that. And even like when Terrifier came out, and he never stopped listening, even with some success, he was listening for the second one. And I'm
yeah.
sure he's reading every goddamn review and every little comment just to see like,
Yeah.
what's working, what's not working, and then like,
When
and
we
he
put
and he takes all
when we put out our review for Terrifier, he commented on everything. Great review, guys. I was like, wow, how did you find us? This is
that.
before like we
Literally,
even talked to him at
he's just
all.
sitting there like he's just like, looking. No, but he does. He reads all of it. I mean, I think it's because well, I mean, I would be terrified, I feel like, to read reviews, but I think he loves it. He like loves the good, he loves the bad. He's like posting a lot of the bad just because he gets a kick out of it. But also, yeah, I think he's also looking like, as
Yeah,
well. Because I mean, being a fan, you know exactly what your taste is and what you wish movies were doing that they're not doing, and that is
exactly.
helpful when making a film. But then also like there's so many other people as well who have different feelings and sentiments, and like you are making films for an audience, so it makes sense.
The movie got a positive tweet message from Stephen King as well. That must have been that
Yeah,
must have been a serious buzz for him, man.
yeah,
Seeing that.
Oh my God, I think he was like, I'm
Stephen
done, I'm
King.
dead.
yeah.
Yeah,
No more
yeah, Stephen
Terrifiers.
King.
We're done, everybody.
Yeah, he's like,
Yeah.
okay, we're good, let's just move on, it's fine.
Just
No,
have
I
Stephen
mean,
King
Yeah.
write the books of Terrifier.
oh my God, literally, it's like it's I mean, how much higher do you go? You don't, right? It's like,
No,
Yeah.
not really. No, I
He
think
is
that
no.
the
really
king.
is the pinnacle.
He is the king. He is the king.
Yeah,
Um,
literally.
when you were kind of done shooting the movies, like, how do you feel looking back over the overall experience? You just like, wow, like to what it's become, and obviously, we've, I think, well, I mean, we know there's going to be a Terrifier 3.
Yeah.
I don't know, he's confirmed. So you've got all that to come as well, and all that to look forward to,
Yeah.
and just the growth of the franchise and everything else. Like, are you just like, wow, what a crazy ride
I
this is?
I feel like it's like it's been a crazy ride because like I said we started in like 2015, 2016. So it was funny when
Yeah,
when Terrifier had success. As personally, I felt like a little far removed from it because had only done like 2 days. So I was like, oh, that was like so long ago that
Yeah.
we were really in it. Um, but it's like exciting, and like for all the reasons I had explained earlier, but it's still like kind of hard to process. And like I said, I've been trying to process it through other people, and I think being like, oh, it's kind of crazy. Like, what do you think of that? And
Yeah.
like, oh, Stephen King tweeted, like, what do you think of that? You know what I mean? Because
yeah,
I can't I can't compute it for some reason, and I don't. Maybe that's the common thing when things like this get to that level. It's like
yeah.
kind of hard to fathom. But
Overwhelming. Yeah,
yeah, and like still, I don't like my brain's still like 10 million in the box office. Like, what does that
Yeah,
mean?
it's
You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
right.
yeah, like, and off a $250,000 budget, like,
Yeah,
and yeah, and like the third one, and like, what's that going to look like? Is that going to, how, and what, and, not necessarily knowing, like, I know that Vicky does have an appearance in the third, but like to what capacity? And like, and
yeah.
even just that story, like, I know Damien in his mind, it's so big. So it's kind of like, I'm just kind of letting go and,
yeah,
and just enjoying the ride, but it's so hard to even,
yeah.
like I said, process it
Well,
at all.
I wanted to ask you, say Damien came to you Like, okay, I'm writing Terrifier 3, but I wanted you to write with what Victoria does in this. So if he came up to you and asked you that question, like, I'm giving you so and so mini scenes or whatever maybe, or whatever you want, what would you want to happen with Victoria in Terrifier 3?
There's something that I have no idea, by the way. No clue. And obviously, like, I would never
Yeah.
recommend Damien anything. I'd be like, you just do your thing, Damien. But I guess personally, just being connected to the character, I think what's really exciting to me about Victoria, I think for any actor, is here's a person who was sort of a final girl and a hero in her own right,
Yeah.
trying to survive and persevere. But I think what the juiciest thing about Vicky is that she's kind of descending into madness.
Oh, for sure. For
So
sure.
there's something that's like, ooh, as an actor, I'm like, ooh, what is that? Like, how does she become maybe a villain or. But then there is the degree to which she still is, I would like to believe, is holding on to some sort of humanity. So, I mean, what I would love to see is, what has happened? How far does she go into this descent into madness? But then, like, is there a part of her that still exists where the light still exists? And what I would really love to see is some flashbacks. so, my,
Oh.
so my face can fucking be intact at some portion
Yeah,
of the
like way
movie.
back when.
But
Yeah.
yeah, my vain self is just like, can we get a scene with Tara and Vicky? Because I love Jenna too. Back in the day, even though I'm older now, uh, so that I don't have to wear that prosthetic every fucking day.
You hear that, Damien? She doesn't want to wear it
Yeah.
anymore.
No, I'm kidding. I'll wear it for him.
CGI that thing. Yeah, he
I'll
would
wear
never
it
do that.
No, and I would never. I would wear it a million times if he asked me to. So, but secretly, I've expressed this to him a lot. I'm like, just like a scene, just one. But
Has
yeah.
any work on the third installment like already begun? Do you know if he's kind of working on the script or just some ideas knocking around? Or I suppose you can't really say too much, but
well, I don't know. I honestly don't know. Damien always kept all these things close to the vest.
Yeah.
I know he said before in an interview, and he said when we've been around that he has like it's outlined, like he has already in his mind. And he had to have it in his mind to know how to end two anyway.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so he wrote two with three and potentially a fourth in mind. But you never know how these things kind of evolve because so much of the first and second film had evolved too. But I just don't know what I just don't know what it is. I do know that he has said it's going to start where it ended.
Yeah.
But what that means, I have no fucking idea.
I think what we need is a spin-off movie of just Victoria.
Oh God, that would be very interesting. I was like, would it be comedic? Would it be like, like maybe a little bit?
That would be very interesting.
God.
Now, there's one thing that I've been thinking about that this is really, really weird. There's like another like fan theory, but my own personal is, what if you and Sienna are related some sort of weird way?
I've heard that.
Like
I've heard that theory. Yeah.
I've been thinking that, and it's like, how would that even look? Like, what would happen? Like, who would you even be? Like, a lost aunt or something crazy like that? Because eventually two are gonna meet. Like it has to happen, and art has to be there, and there's so many crazy things. This is bigger than like the MCU. Like, I'm sorry, but this whole like this Terrifier
I'm super
universe.
excited. Like, it gets me so excited because I like I said, I started reading up of the like I get really excited by the character theories and stuff like that. That's what gets me excited. Like, I'm like, reviews, I don't want to read the reviews, but like when people start like throwing out their theories, I wish I knew. I literally have no idea. So it's not even me just being like, I have no idea, and I'm not allowed to say. I have no idea what.
I guess
Damien
that's a good
knows.
thing though, because then everybody gets surprised. you
Well,
know?
and I imagine like Vicky wouldn't know that anyway, if they were. So it'd be like, so it's not necessary that I would need to know that. But I mean, I know Damien knows, and who knows where his mind's going, and I think it's gonna be better and bigger than anything that I could have ever thought of. So I'm definitely like, let's go the wheel and just let him steer.
I can't wait.
Damien, take the wheel. Yeah.
There's so much that he could do with this, and and do so many other like spin-off things if you really wanted, and create like a mention a Terrifier show, like having him like a full like Netflix show or something on Screenbox of it being a
Mhm.
mini series. Like that would be awesome. Like little
That would work, man. That would definitely work.
oh, like this like dive into like all the other characters that have died, but like go into like their past and like how they, you know, came into this, like so cool. Many things
I
you could
mean,
do.
I believe it's possible now that it's had so much success. I feel like
Yeah.
they're probably thinking on these things. I keep hearing that people want there to be like a video game or
Oh
some
yeah,
sort of
that's what's been
yeah,
a big campaign lately, is getting into like Dead by
yeah,
Daylight or something like that.
yeah,
Really, really big. It's gonna
yeah,
happen, and everybody listening and watching it will happen eventually. It's just a lot of this stuff
yeah.
does take time. Like, you know, like make a movie, it takes some time.
6 years, right?
Takes
For
a long
part two.
time.
Yeah.
Oh.
I know. Well, who knows? Who knows when the third? I'm excited for the third. Who knows when? I don't even know when that's projected to
All right,
be
Damien's gonna
filmed or
call you
started.
tonight
But
and be like, "We're starting filming tomorrow, so get ready." Gonna
Yeah.
I'd
come
be
out
like,
next
tell
year.
me where. I was like, I said to Damien, even if I'm not in the film, I will go get you coffee. Like, I'll do anything for that man.
Yeah,
So,
so
but
awesome.
yeah.
Dean, I don't know if you have any other questions you want to throw to the board.
Got a couple. Besides Terrifier, what else? What else are you working on? What else have you got lined up? What else are you doing?
I am mainly directing.
Yeah.
I'm in post of 3 films. I did 2 short films and a music video recently. So
Hell
Amazing.
yeah.
so I'm in post of those. And then my plan, even though plans always change, was to kind of do 2 short films, and then I'm hoping to be in pre-production of my feature, which I've written the rough draft. So it's not even fully ready to be sent to anyone. But my next 2 months are basically getting that, so
That's
it's in
awesome.
a form to send to people. So that's what's on the docket. I'm very much in post and hoping to start on my first feature.
That's
Super
awesome.
cool.
So
I love short
yeah,
films, so for you to be doing short films, that's awesome.
I love it.
I'll have to look into them and watch them, because I want to support everything everybody does in the Terrifier
Yeah.
family. Not just
Mm,
watching the Terrifier films, but seeing everybody
yeah.
else's work and their own creative minds. It's awesome, and I feel like
It's
Damien's
a great
pushing a lot of
opportunity.
people
Yeah.
to do, you know, more creative
Yeah.
things outside of Terrifier.
Yeah. No, he's a massive supporter. He's massively supported me, like ever since I've known him, especially on this past film that I did that was psychological horror. Because of course I was like, Damien, I need to talk to one person, and it's you, especially with the horror genre. But and he was massively influential on that film. But yeah, no, it's amazing, and short films are amazing because it's a great opportunity. It's financially horrifying, but it's a great
Yeah.
opportunity to
Yeah.
to work out and to grow as an artist. So
Yeah, I mean, if you can make a short film and you can do something in like 5 minutes or even like shorter than that, like there's like I saw a short film at a festival. It was a very very small festival near me, and it was a 15-second short film,
oh
and
Jesus.
it was
Wow.
amazing.
Listen, if you could do a
Awesome.
15-second, that's coming from commercials, because I'm rep commercially. I'm like, there's a lot of reasons not to do commercials, which I could tell you all those reasons. But I'll say if you can figure out how to tell a story in 15, 30 seconds, whatever, like that is no easy feat.
Yeah, it
So
was. I
yeah,
forget what it was called, but it was like
so
a guy.
15 second short film, like damn.
Yeah, it was crazy. I forget what it was called or like really what happened, because it was so short that I haven't watched it again since. But it was like he was sitting in like a it was a horror short. These were all
Mm,
horror ones. He was sitting in some sort of like cubicle or something, and like this shit just went really bad really fast, and then it ended.
I
And I was
really
like,
want. If you find out what that is, let me know, because I'm
Yeah, I
like
want to see that.
yeah, I'm gonna have to
massively
find it and
fascinated.
send it to you for sure. Because it
Oh,
was
amazing.
it was either 15 or 30 seconds. It was really, really, really short, but it was great. It was better than a lot of like the other short films I saw. There was a short film that was like a half hour, and honestly, it was not good at all.
It has to be kind of amazing, I think, for it to be a certain length. I think after you hit a certain length, you
Yeah.
really got to hit it out of the park.
Yeah,
Otherwise, how do you justify?
it was
It's one of
trying
Yeah,
to spend too much time on characters, and then the ending just fell really flat, and I was like,
I,
ugh, okay,
I
whatever.
think that with Terrifier 2 was like 2.5 hours, but it was so good it didn't feel that long
Yeah.
at all. You know,
I would
and
like 2.5 hours. It went by so fast, and
Yeah.
I had seen it. I had seen it outside the theater
yeah,
earlier, and then I saw it in the theater, and I was like, and that's. I think everyone was like 2.5 hours. A horror film should never, or any movie should never be that long. And yeah, it went by
it goes
so
super
fast.
quick. But I think that's because it's such a good movie. There's not a dull
Yeah.
moment in it. It's just like it's just all badass.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I mean, Damien definitely knows how to bring you along for the ride. Like it's just, yeah,
Yeah, he's sort of definitely come into his own with the storytelling as well. You know, it's kind of definitely realms ahead of the first with the storytelling. You see, he's kind of come into his own with that. I think that's
yeah,
great. Definitely.
yeah.
No,
I'm
I
Honestly,
excited for the
guess.
third.
Yeah, me too.
yeah,
Very,
I'm
very
like,
much.
how the hell is he gonna top the second one? Which means he's already thinking some
Yeah.
yeah,
crazy shit.
Some weird in some weird way, I've been kind of putting him next to like Clive Barker and like his storytelling and how he makes his movies and stuff. I feel like he's like the modern day Clive Barker. Really think about how he kind of creates these crazy stories and they're all very visceral, but there's such a great story at the heart of it all. And there's a bunch of crap going on the surface level and everything, but like if you really dig down deep and you realize the meanings, if you can pull any, if you can figure out ties and whatnot, as Terrifier and Terrifier 2, they leave a lot of questions. They answer some, but there's still
Yeah,
a shit ton of questions. And it's kind of like that with, like Hellraiser films or um, Nightbreed as well. Like, there's just so many
yeah.
really, really cool things.
Well, I think with
And
Damien, it's like if you haven't watched his interviews, you might just assume watching a Terrifier movie that it's on a surface level just very violent.
yeah,
But Damien is like a very deep person.
yeah,
Like I mean, he watches. We're both like weird like geeks when it comes to watching like 6 hour God debates on like debates with like existentialists on like YouTube. And Damien's like nerds out on that stuff. Like
yeah,
he's an avid reader and he's an avid searcher and so I think like when you know Damien, you're like he's a very deep person and there's all this like symbology that's like infused in the film that some people are picking up on and most people might not. But he's working in that way and there's a lot of like depth and layers
yeah,
to what he's doing. Which I think is what also sets him apart, which most people aren't aware of because they just, they didn't never watched an interview or they don't know him personally.
yeah.
yeah.
But he's got a lot going on.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's
that's what makes
such a
him
smart
who he
guy.
is.
Smart.
Yeah.
Dean, I don't know if you have anything else, but I think I pretty much shot all of my questions.
Yeah, me too, man. Me too. I was searching up some of the other stuff you've done, and I come across a movie called Demon Hole.
Oh
Oh
God,
yeah, I
You
Demon
saw
need to
Hall.
that
see
one
that.
too.
I was very young when I did
You
that
need to
film. I
check
love
that
that
one out.
title. That's literally that title. I did that, yeah, a couple years before I did Terrifier, so it was like early 20s.
Oh
Cool.
One of my
yeah,
first one of my first films.
We
we need
need
more
to
Great
check that
title.
one out.
cheese. More cheese.
Yeah,
you know.
definitely.
But
But yeah,
Samantha, this has been great, and I thank you, and Dean thanks you, and everybody listening and watching, we thank you for taking some time out of your day to come chat with us on this little podcast. And Dean, thank you for seeing her at For Love of Horror, as again, otherwise this probably would not have happened. I probably would have,
Yeah, you never know. You could have emailed me. You would have,
yeah, I was just gonna
but
say,
yeah, of
definitely,
course.
definitely.
maybe I would have found you. I would have probably either found you or messaged David or Damien and been like, "Yo, what's Samantha's? Where can I
No,
find you?"
I'm grateful. I'm so thankful. This has been so much fun, and it's been a pleasure chatting with you and meeting you guys. So
Yeah, it's been great, and I'm
thank you.
sure we'll be
Yeah,
talking
thanks for
again
coming on.
for any other projects, and whatnot. There's so many things going on, and I want to look at your other projects and talk about them with you, or whatever. Maybe even Dean and I will review them over here. Who knows?
Oh yeah,
But they have to be horror, right? I
No,
gotta.
not necessarily.
I
We
mean,
could tread the
some of them
line.
are horrifying because they're very realistic, but
yeah.
in a yeah one of those ways. But no, no, I'd love that, and definitely keep in touch, and if I would love to come back on at some point.
Oh yeah, and another thing that we do that I try to say to our guests as well is like we do obviously movie reviews, and if there's ever a movie that you want to review, um, let me know, or I can send you a list, and we can get you on, and we can chat about something other than Terrifier.
Oh,
you
that's
know,
cool. That's very cool.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So
I
we can
love
always
that.
do that. Another thing that's really cool that I'm so excited for, and when I told Dean this was happening, he got really excited. We are getting an early copy of The Mean One, so we can review that
Oh,
one.
yeah. I've heard about that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and David's been on our show twice this
Mhm.
year, so I'm trying to get him on again so we can talk about that, so we can take a break from Terrifier for a little bit and
Yeah.
talk about the Grinch.
Oh my God, yeah. I'm sure he would love that. And also, I was just talking to someone the other day. I was like, has it come out yet? But it hasn't. But I'm excited to support him
Yep,
when it
I
does.
think in about a week or so. It's like the 8th or the 9th it's coming out in theaters, which
Yeah.
is also another crazy
That's
thing.
wild. Yeah.
This a lower budget, I think, than Terrifier 2, and looking at the trailer, it looks so cheesy. I love it.
He's so perfectly
Yeah, but
cast for that, man.
Terrifier like opened a door like for people to be like, oh, these indie films can draw an audience. So
Exactly.
it's kind of it's exciting.
Definitely.
Exactly.
He's so perfectly cast for that role as well. I think he's so animated, isn't he? Like, and
He literally. I mean, I don't know if you saw. When he came, was it when? Oh no, when he for the premiere in New York. I thought it was for the Love of Horror. He came dressed up as the
Joker.
Joker.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he looks so good.
I was like, he's amazing. I love David. He's a character in the best way.
He's such a
And
nice
actually,
guy
I've
too.
been following him on. I think we sort of our friend requested him ages and ages and ages ago on Facebook. I think it was, like way before Terrifier was even successful. And I've kind of just sort of been following, his posts and just sort of, just watch him sort of grow into this kind of horror icon. Just
Yeah.
yeah, it's crazy to see how far he's come.
The good
But
thing is he's still a sweetheart. He
he's
still
super
feels
cool. When I
like
met him, he was super
he still
cool.
feels like David when we were in 2015, like just
Yeah,
chatting away and kind and funny and yeah.
yeah,
You don't
definitely.
really get too many people like that nowadays, especially
No,
when they
you
start
really
getting
don't.
success. They lose the humbleness and get a little bit more serious and whatnot. But
Oh
Yeah.
man, those lines get blurred real quick sometimes.
I know.
I work at a lot of comic cons and horror cons and stuff, and yeah, you can see the difference.
Yeah, you're like, you're an asshole. That's not gonna.
Oh god, yeah, there's a lot of them.
You're like,
But
I don't like this anymore. Yeah.
he was super cool. Now he was very friendly, very very
No,
cool.
he is. He really is, and that's
Yeah, all you guys
that's
were.
cool.
Damien was as well. He was really really cool guy.
Oh yeah, I said the best people. That's why it's kind of exciting because, like I said, it's exciting to watch because even and like I said, Lauren, it's like the best
Yeah,
people, the nicest people, like all this success and still humble and
yeah,
still kind. So, but
perfect. Yeah,
Yep,
yeah.
and I can't wait to see Terrifier 3 and all the other projects that everybody's doing. I know Damien said he's going to be working on, I think, something before Terrifier 3 to kind of break up everything. So I'm excited for whatever project that may be. To check out your short films and all the other films that you have in your mind that you want to do. We'll
So
be
many
there
things.
and support all of you. And Samantha, thank you so much for being here
Oh,
again.
well,
yeah.
thank you
Thank
guys.
you.
I appreciate it.
And this is us signing off and continuing this Terrifier 2 train as much as possible so nobody forgets about it. So this was the Baron's Hideout podcast. We thank all of you guys for listening and supporting, and we'll catch you next time.